Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Arcserve and StorageCraft Stack All Product Portfolio webinar featuring Hugo Parra, Senior Director of Product Management, and Matt Knudsen, Senior Product Marketing Manager. Before we get started, please note you can submit your text questions to our presenter at any time throughout the presentation. Your questions will be addressed either during the session or we will follow up with you afterward. We hope you enjoyed today's webinar, and I'd now like to pass the time to our first presenter, Matt Knudsen.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, depending on where you're logged in from. Really appreciate you taking time out of your busy days to learn about exciting update and announcement related to Arcserve. Meet the new global business continuity leader. So what exactly does that mean? I want to spend some time going through the excitement that certainly Arcserve has and with this merger with StorageCraft to really bring to market a global business continuity leader. As some of you know, Arcserve has been around since 1983. We've been focused specifically on data protection solutions since then. We have over 70,000 customers in over 150 countries and have obviously thousands of channel partners to help you with your data protection needs. Now with the StorageCraft merger, and I'll get to some of that detail here in just a bit, we're able to merge with leader in their space around MSP. You'll learn a lot about their scale out products and really an entire portfolio between the two companies that can meet the data protection needs of any size organization. Just like you can see here, StorageCraft was established in 2003, has thousands of MSPs. That's a key focus where they've been focused, as well as a small business. So let's just dive in a little bit deeper in terms of what exactly that means as new global business continuity leader. The ability to get all your data protection challenges solved by a single vendor with the broadest data protection portfolio in the business. Unlike competitors that will force you to utilize a variety of solutions on the storage side, on the software side, on the cybersecurity side, of really trying to have a unified offering. You can see here, we're really focused on accelerating our innovation, and you'll learn about the portfolio here in just a bit. Everything from small business all the way to enterprise level solutions on premises, hybrid, and in the cloud. You can look to leverage cloud-based services for cloud-based disaster recovery, as well as on-premise disaster recovery. And you'll learn more during Hugo's section about scale-out storage and all of the amazing technology that StorageCraft brings into the Arcserve portfolio, and really focused as a key element of ransomware prevention and protection, and you'll learn more about that as well as we go through details related to the portfolio. The goal is really to provide customers and partners with that largest solution portfolio from one vendor to cover all workloads and all environments. It's a tall task, and we've addressed it, and we're really excited to go into details about that today. I mentioned the innovation. We're really on a fast track to continue to evolve that and really merge these technologies over time. We have some initial synergies, of course, and we'll continue to expand on those moving forward. And then also around adaptive business models, options for OpEx as well as CapEx to really be able to manage costs without compromise around a data protection strategy. One of our biggest drivers towards looking at data protection needs is we know a key element of data protection is around ransomware prevention. We all hear about it. We all know about it. We've seen the headlines. So I won't go through all of these statistics, but there is one I wanted to share, and that's around every 11 seconds in 2021, an organization somewhere worldwide is hit by ransomware. So of course, this is top of mind for any IT manager, any CIO, any executive within a company to make sure they have the proper solutions in place to help address that. And you'll learn more as we go through our portfolio where you can see those solutions that can address that specific need. Why such a focus? Well, we know ransomware has a significant impact not only on IT with an organization, but also has a big impact on the business. You can see here, according to information from Sophos Labs, a continued increase in the average payout for ransomware. Cyber criminals are even evolving their options and trends in terms of ransomware as a service, cold calling people, really trying to be aggressive in terms of not only creating exploits in systems, but also trying to really move forward with different ransomware events. And that's one of the reasons why it's become so prolific. And part of the challenge with that for a business organization is around defenses. You got servers, you got endpoints, you got storage devices, you have cloud infrastructure. All of these things are potential targets for ransomware. So one of the things that we like to look at relative to a ransomware prevention strategy, and again, we'll cover these in different areas as we go through the portfolio, is around a multimodal approach. We all know there isn't one specific solution that is that silver bullet. However, if you look at these three elements, you can see in this chart here, cybersecurity, orchestrated recovery, and processes, these are all areas to think about relative to an offering. Now, one of the areas that we focus on at Arcserve, and now Arcserve merged with StorageCraft, is an area around really trying to focus in on, and we'll get into some more of this detail later, around an expansion on what we've typically heard of the 3-2-1 backup strategy. Now there's this new element of 3-2-1-1. So we'll get to that here in just a little bit. It's obviously important for organizations to protect their infrastructure, and really where we're focused is to protect their data, and more specifically their backups, because we certainly know cyber criminals try to attack backups to make sure that any kind of issues that are in the area of backups are something that they want to make sure are protected properly. And so we'll continue to expand our offerings in areas to expand protection across the entire portfolio. We do have areas within our portfolio initially that we have that focus, and we'll continue to expand on that. And you'll certainly see, especially when we get to the area around UDP and appliances and OneSafe, you have an amazing solution to address that issue of ransomware head on, something that you can't get to that level of protection from Veeam or others in the market. So really excited to get to that portion of the presentation here in just a little bit. I know we have other areas we want to cover as well. Obviously, with the merger, we have the ability with scale-out storage. We have new options available relative to cloud services. So with that, I would like to turn it over to Hugo Parra, who can step through the Arcserve product portfolio, and we'll start from a high-level standpoint and step you through solutions you'll see here from this portfolio map, from small business to enterprise, and then level of functionality in terms of areas that address data protection and data management needs in the market. So with that, I would like to turn it over to Hugo.
Thank you, Matt. Appreciate that intro and setting up the rest of our discussion today. It's a pleasure being with you guys today. I'm Hugo Parra, Senior Director of Product Management, and very excited about the unified portfolio that the merger of Arcserve and StorageCraft has brought together. We're showing here sort of what we're going to be discussing. We're going to be picking up some highlights among some of these products and things particularly where we see some key synergies around the new combination of the product suite that's coming up together as a result. You can see how we are have filled in, a very continuous range of needs among our customers. Some of these solutions not only apply directly to various requirements of different environments, but they also work together very closely to be able to provide additional layers of protection, recoverability, right, and business continuity as they combine on-prem, they combine in the cloud, as well as security, data protection, DRaaS, all from one vendor, right? So we're going to be, the rest of this presentation, we're going to move here from left to right. We're going to talk about some of the solutions that apply first to the smaller side of this range of the market, and then we'll move up to the mid-market or the small enterprise and the mid-market. At that point, Matt will come back and talk about some of those solutions, and then solutions that apply directly to a more larger environments. By the way, I'll call this out. Right, there's so many different ways to present this, to map these solutions on a chart. This is just one of them. Right, there are many of these that, depending on the needs of our customers, could very well apply, in different areas. But this is just one way to a simplified way to look at this. So with that, let's start by discussing the SMB solutions. And again, I'm going to start from the bottom of this stack, so we can advance to the next slide. The primary product now that we have available in the Arcserve's portfolio to address the basic needs of the data protection needs of that SMB space is ShadowSafe and OneSafe Solo. They're depicted here as two boxes that are built on a common platform, because that's exactly what they are, right? There are different ways of deploying very, very similar capabilities for data protection and for DRaaS integration, but it has slightly different models for how they get deployed on the location that you're trying to protect. They are both managed through one common interface, which is called One System. It's a cloud-hosted interface that is multi-tenant in nature. Right, so it's easy for our customers to compartmentalize what they want to manage and who needs to do what, but yet provide a management from anywhere, right, that is always available. So if we, in the next slide, we'll see that that One System management experience provides a streamlined approach for how to manage. One of the things that this product did as we implemented it, is we stepped back and looked at the main flows that people that are protecting their systems and data are most likely, and I think both companies have a long history of addressing the needs of data protection. So we were able to look at what are the most common administrative flows and operational flows that our customers require, right? Both for configuring the system, deploying it, but then ongoing monitoring and being able to deploy. And then we took a lot of care in the actual recovery flow, right? We know that is something that doesn't happen as often as maybe, just protecting things on an ongoing basis, but when it does happen, people can't afford making mistakes. And so being an extremely simple and streamlined experience was the key on this. And so every one of those flows has been streamlined through a very clean interface, right? And the object is that people can just in a few minutes, in a few clicks, get to whether it is decide what they need to protect, monitor what's happening. And by the way, everything that is done through One System is based on SLAs, right, or policies. So instead of specifying a number of steps to take to protect your data, an administrator just says, this is the outcome that I want. I will know that my data is protected properly if I have this outcome, right? And then everything around the administrative experience is about reporting on that prescribed outcome that the administrator operator specified, whether it be reporting, whether it be dashboard monitoring, etc. It's just you set it once and it just works tirelessly to make sure that SLA, that policy is being achieved. In the next slide, so the functionality that is available through ShadowSafe and Solo, the same experience that you just saw in the previous slide is available for both. Right? The way you configure it, the way that you set the policies, you monitor. The difference between those two products is that in one case, in the case of ShadowSafe, you deploy software at each location that you want protected. It is a VM that can be deployed on Hyper-V, on VMware, ESXi, etc. And it does the job that it needs to do. You need to provide it some resources, right? And then it's protecting data on-prem. It can create copies on-prem. It can also replicate to any data center. It can replicate to any cloud, public cloud, and it can also replicate to StorageCraft DRAS, the new Arcserve DRAS cloud. Solo, by comparison, instead of deploying a VM at each location, you deploy an appliance that is basically running that logic inside that small appliance, right? And so it encapsulates all the benefits of ShadowSafe, right? But it allows you to basically ship or have one of these appliances shipped directly from distribution to the location where you want to provide protection. It needs to be plugged to power, plugged to the network, and then from that same one system experience, you can do the rest of the deployment, configuration, and protection on an ongoing basis. If we go to the next slide, you will see some of the capabilities that are possible through a OneSafe Solo deployment, right? Because it is contained in a small, it's basically 4.5 by 4.5 inches by 2 inches tall, right? It's a small appliance that anyone can basically deploy on a desk, on a cabinet, plug it where it needs to be plugged, and then an administrator from a central location can do all the administration that they need to do for that. Then it lends great for protecting in the MSP space, for protecting a whole number of clients in MSP in an SMB, right? Being able to provide protection that is first class without having to require either trained personnel or without having to require a lot of infrastructure, because it has everything that it needs inside that box to provide that protection. No need to have a virtual environment. If there's a virtual environment, it will leverage it, but if it's not, it will do it on its own. No need to put storage inside the appliance. If there's storage available, it will use it. If there's no storage available, it will use the cloud directly for backing up and for failing over as well. So it's great for SMB, and it's great for large distributed enterprises where the approach desired is to standardize on a common approach, right? And because it's able to protect anywhere between 1 and 20, and 20 is not a hard number, but it's certainly well within the range of the capability of this appliance, workloads, 1 to 20 workloads. It lends itself to being able to standardize on a broad range of use cases through one approach, right? And one central management. And so it's designed and it's priced and it's billed and it's invoiced, everything that is planned around it for those 3 use cases, and has great potential for standardization and providing, leveraging not only on-prem capabilities, but the cloud capabilities that come with it. In the next slide, I alluded a little bit to this DRAS capabilities, and whereas we're still here in the segment of the SMB, the cloud services, which has come from the StorageCraft side of the merger, but is growing quickly to be available across the Arcserve portfolio, has interesting characteristics. This has been how the StorageCraft has offered disaster recovery as a service for many years now, right? And it has the capability of is purpose built just for that effect, right? To be able to provide DR. It has an all-inclusive pricing methodology, so that there's no surprises on different costs that usually when someone is implementing this on their own, right? Egress, ingress, seating costs, virtualization costs, all that is included in the offering of this service. It's truly a service that is provided. It has for many years been hosted on data centers that where the infrastructure was being managed by StorageCraft. Now is being moved to public infrastructure, public cloud infrastructure, which will give incredible elasticity to what we've done in the past. Everything is included in that pricing, and because it supports a self-serve approach to providing DRaaS, so customers don't need to be calling support, they don't need to be calling Arcserve every time they need to either get data on the into the DRaaS service, or when they want to run a test to see if failover is working properly, if they have the right resources allocated for that, if they want to test the order in which things should fail over in a case of an orchestrated DR scenario. And certainly they don't need to call Arcserve support in a real DR scenario. They can always do that, but it's designed for people to just do that, for customers to just use the service when they need it, so in a self-serve fashion, and be able to accomplish those things. In the next slide, I show where we have, well, let me just mention, there's data centers spread out throughout the world, and we understand that having those DR capabilities within regions is key for a number of reasons, and so that's the effect of doing that. And like I said earlier, we are on the journey of embracing those capabilities, offering those capabilities on Google Cloud, GCP. And we have currently already one data center in Ohio that is providing those capabilities. We have 5 others that are planned in the next 2 months to be available, come online and be available throughout the world. So for information, reach back to us and we'll give you the details on that. Last product here that I will mention for the SMB is the cloud, we call it cloud backup, is data protection for Office 365 and G Suite, right? So it's SaaS, it's a SaaS offering that protects cloud service by backing it up onto cloud itself. So it's C2C, and protects everything that Office 365 users and G Suite users care about, including email, but also their OneDrive, Teams, right, and SharePoint, right, and it provides an option for customers to just purchase it with cloud storage included, so that all their cloud backups can be, all their needs for that, all the costs are already incorporated into that. But they can also provide their own Azure storage, so that we can help you make use of an Azure account that you might already have, and use that to store backup information on this. It's multi-tenant, right? And so it's powerful to manage and assign different roles to view and do certain things, and overall provide protection for those 2 SaaS products online. Excellent, thank you. So that with that, move to the mid-market solution, and there's one in particular, and you saw a whole bunch of different products on that first graph when I started speaking. We're highlighting things that we feel are going to be first items of interest, and in there, it's OneSafe stands out, right? This is a scale-out platform that it provides capabilities for not only for providing storage for files, but also backups, archives, and other information that is out there. One of the things that drove the development of OneSafe was the exponential growth of unstructured data, right? And applications that are written to communicate through SMB and NFS, right, but are exploding in their needs for storage. And so OneSafe is appliance-based solution that is built on a object-based and object file service. And with that come a number of benefits to it. One is that it can scale out, not just scale up, which is what most solutions provide, but scale out is the ability for someone to be able to, on the fly, add storage, either by adding drives, storage to one unit, or by adding entire units to a cluster of appliances. And by doing that, just organically have this thing grow and redistribute and have the different copies that somebody needs, and make sure that the information is available at all times. Part of that also comes with it, and this is something that we really want to emphasize, is the ability to provide immutable snapshots. Through that object store that is supported and offered by OneSafe, we are constantly taking, every 90 seconds, snapshots are being created of the data that exists on all those shares that are hosted on OneSafe. And then they are stored, and there's no possibility of those objects being changed, tampered with. And at any time, a customer can come and bring a snapshot and recover a snapshot at any time, right, that has taken place in the past, and be absolutely sure that that is has not been changed, right, either by ransomware or by some other benign or malignant intrusion, right? And so it provides an added level of security to everything that our customers need to do. And to exemplify that, if I go to the next slide, you'll see a scenario where one aspect of these two portfolios coming together that is very, very promising and exciting is that existing implementations that use UDP, whether it be an appliance or software, UDP software running to protect an environment, right, with Sophos already in the mix, you can add to it a OneSafe unit to be able to create a copy. That's the 3211, right? That second one sometimes is referred to a copy of in the cloud. It also can be referred to a copy to an immutable destination, and that's what this allows us to do, right? And being able to have a copy of your backups that is stored in a place that just things cannot be tampered with, right? And that provides you for not only protection, but also the ability to recover from that based on the retention schedule that you have for everything that you stored in that OneSafe. Very powerful solution that comes to complement what we do today with the Arcserve data protection portfolio. And then there's another use case for this that I'll mention in passing because it's interesting, and many will look at using that. But if we have your customer that has been using UDP software to protect your environment and are seeing an increase in the storage needs for that data, for that backup data, right? Either because you're protecting larger and larger environments, or in many cases, what we see is that the footprint of those workloads that are being protected are growing, right? Particularly data that is unstructured exponentially, and so you want a destination that allows you to just grow as your needs are, and not have to estimate and over deploy, right, or under deploy, and then when you need to adjust, having to do a forklift replacement of that storage, then OneSafe can provide a great solution. OneSafe is currently used by a number of backup and data protection solutions in the market, and we are undergoing certification with the UDP software to make sure that we have the best guidelines for that to be implemented. And beyond that, we're working on a unified management experience that out of the box allows you to configure the solutions side by side to optimize their performance and their use of storage, and also being able to manage that from one single pane as you go along. That's just looking a little bit into the roadmap for later this year, but suffice it to say that we're excited about the combination of these two products coming to address the needs of that mid-market. With that, I'm going to turn this back to Matt for the next couple segments here. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Hugo. Great information. As you can see, a lot of exciting things happening relative to Arcserve. And one of the items that I wanted to, for those of you not familiar with Arcserve or some of the products pre-StorageCraft merger, was just step through a few of those, and then also add additional information as Hugo mentioned in terms of OneSafe and how to utilize those together through some additional detail here. So from a mid-market standpoint, we do have our Arcserve backup product, which is really primarily focused around tape devices, certainly can be used. This is a software application. It's included in UDP when you get to certain elevated platinum level type editions for it. And just want to make sure the awareness of that. This is one of the products that actually goes back quite a ways in Arcserve's history. Continues to be used as obviously organizations have different strategies, and one of the most cost-effective air gap copies you can have is a copy on tape. And so organizations, and it's obviously very inexpensive. And so this is something that organizations continue to look at and leverage when and where appropriate. I wanted to spend some time now on UDP 8. We just launched UDP 8 just within the last 60 days. And there's a lot of exciting updates related to it, but I really wanted to focus around kind of what are those key benefits that are delivered by UDP. And one key element is this idea of orchestrated ransomware recovery. As you can see, we really want to make sure that if a business is hit with a ransomware event and they have the assurance that their backups are protected in that instance. And so we've done a lot in terms of our partnership with Sophos to provide a proactive cybersecurity component with their InterceptX Advanced cybersecurity solution to protect those on-premises workloads and really allow a business to say no to any ransom demands. And obviously, it goes back to that comment about a multimodal strategy that I mentioned earlier. And it's important to have, those three key areas: cybersecurity in place, disaster recovery and orchestrated recovery, and processes. And so, as I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, we're really focused to make sure you have that peace of mind that your backups and your data are protected. You can see along the left-hand side here, these are all the different type of environments that we support, from different operating systems to different databases to file shares, cloud environments, including Microsoft Office 365. And it's a very extensive list, and it's all through a consolidated interface. UDP is short for Unified Data Protection, and so it's trying to deliver upon this unified approach. Now, Hugo touched on this in terms of the addition of immutability with on-premise immutability via OneSafe. And this is an exciting addition to UDP on-premises to have that ability to store those backups in an immutable manner. As Hugo mentioned, we are working on that direct copy recovery point option, but even now there is an ability for an existing RPS that has that copy recovery point option to be able to move that to OneSafe, and later this year we'll have the ability to write directly to it as a destination. I'll get into another option here in just a bit around cloud hybrid, but this is a cloud extension for UDP to be able to have that offsite copy. Again, it's all about that 321, and now with that expansion 3211 to have offsite copy off premises, obviously, and then have that immutability via OneSafe. And so it's a key option available with UDP. I wanted to spend just a few minutes on Arcserve appliances, because this is something that Arcserve brought to market about 5+ years ago, and we're on our 3rd or 4th generation of these. And the adoption of these has been absolutely tremendous. And one of the things that's different about the appliances, and you'll see here as I step through some details, they can be just from a backup standpoint, and they can also be utilized from an actual disaster recovery standpoint, and being able to actually run virtual machines directly from the appliance. So again, it really comes down to a business's preference, how they want to handle their business continuity strategy. And that's one of the things we continue to build out our portfolio, is to really be that single source vendor that can allow businesses of various size to have options available. We've been talking through those As we progress through this webinar, we'll continue to discuss some additional items here in just a bit. But as you can see, it's a very focused portfolio around the entire concept of business continuity. So just like the UDP software, the appliances includes the UDP software, but where it differs obviously is this is an on-premises appliance device that is installed in your data center. And so one of the options that's available here is, and you'll see in a subsequent slide, is the ability to match an appliance that meets your particular needs. If it's more on the backup side, that's certainly an option. If it's on the disaster recovery side, and I'll get to some additional information here in a bit about our X series as well. Google mentioned about that ability to utilize in conjunction with OneSafe. This is a great way to add that second one from that 3211 for immutability. There's two key things we like to talk about related to a ransomware prevention strategy, and that's the first and last line of defense. So first line of defense will be a focus around proactive cybersecurity. And this is a big differentiator compared to other data protection vendors in the market. Most will focus on ransomware prevention methods about how information is written or where it's written. And those are all important, and you've certainly learned about some of those options that we have available in our product solutions today. Where the proactive comes into play is the inclusion in any UDP install or any appliance includes Sophos as part of that. It even extends to the Arcserve cloud for our cloud backup for Office 365 and cloud hybrid. And what this does is just proactively keeps an eye on that data set and that particular backup to make sure that it doesn't see any behavior or attempts for modifications, and is a proactive stance against that. So it's not a reactive stance. It's certainly designed to be proactive. Now, the last line of defense will be for those areas. Again, we're focused on protecting the backup. The last line of defense is if other areas are impacted by a ransomware event or even a natural disaster, or some reason causes a certain system or something to be offline, you need that ability either to fail over into the cloud and provide an option to run a disaster recovery as a service option from the cloud, or be able to utilize an on-premises solution like an appliance to be able to run those virtual machines and handle that orchestrated recovery. You can see from the appliances, there's, for this particular model, up to 56 core and a couple terabytes of RAM. So there's a lot of processing power and RAM capability and storage capability. But you'll see when I switch over to the X series, and this is obviously for a larger scale customer, but we'll get to that here in just a bit, is really the area around performance and the ability to run a large number of virtual machines and really be able to handle an orchestrated recovery where you might be dealing with dozens and dozens of virtual machines and really need that to happen in an orchestrated manner. This is just a listing of the 9000 series. I won't go through all of these, but I've touched on that point around backup and DR and backup. So you can certainly see from a capacity standpoint, it increases as you increase the model number, and the model number simply associates to the effective capacity. And you may ask yourself, well, what exactly is effective capacity? Well, effective capacity is really related to the utilization of deduplication to allow better utilization of the storage. So if you have 4 terabytes of storage and you want to optimize that, and it all depends on the data set that you have, typically we see about a 3-to-1 ratio. So you can really start to deduplicate data and not have similar blocks of data written and taking up extra space. And so we have a number of customers that leverage this. Some will see significantly higher deduplication rates than that. And it's all dependent upon whether it's audio and video files versus text files versus code. I mean, they're all compressed and deduplicated in different manners. But in best case scenarios, you typically can expect to see some multiple of your original storage size. Cloud hybrid, I briefly touched on this. This is simply an integrated cloud backup and disaster recovery extension to the UDP software and appliances. So it's fully managed off-site. It can handle all the failover and failback. It is protected by Sophos, so it does provide that cybersecurity protection in an off-site storage option and recovery option that's available as part of UDP. Cloud backup for Office 365. This is a fairly new offering, and internally, as we work through this continued merge with StorageCraft, obviously you learned from Hugo around the ability to manage and back up different SaaS-based platforms with their offering around Microsoft 365 as well as Google Suite. The pre-merger Arcserve offering was around cloud backup. So these two solutions will continue to merge over time. This provides the ability for someone who has a familiarity with UDP or wants to have an experience similar to what they had with UDP and can utilize cloud backup from that extent. So it just provides you as a customer or partner with options for which approach. Cloud Direct, I just wanted to touch on this. This is as the name would suggest, direct to cloud. And one of the items we certainly see from customers and from partners and, certainly from prospects is there an option for me to back up directly to the cloud? Perhaps in certain situations, they want to back up directly to the cloud. They can do so without the use of hardware or management required. And so this can be great for distributed IT environments and remote offices. It's great for, organizations that may not have any IT. So it's very simple to either be deployed remotely by a team member or simply managed on each individual system. So it's really dependent upon what each organization wants to do in terms of a strategy. I wanted to just highlight this from a Cloud Direct standpoint, and this was from last month. PC Magazine picked Cloud Direct as editor's choice for cloud backup for business. And one of the things that really set it apart was its deep feature set, as you can see here, but also those disaster recovery options. And one of the items that makes it simplistic to roll out is not having to count specific machines or servers. It's based on storage amount, and you can back up as much, as many workstations as you want, as many servers, virtual machines within that specified storage amount. And obviously you can purchase additional storage. So from a rollout and implementation standpoint, it's very easy to be able to utilize. And, our team's very proud of this. And, I encourage any of you to go out to pcmagazine.com and just search for Cloud Direct Editor's Choice, and you can read their write-up about Cloud Direct. Now, looking at the enterprise side, I mentioned this earlier, we have two series of appliances today. We have the 9000 series and we have the X series. And the X series is really designed to be that solution focused on large-scale implementations where you've got dozens and dozens of virtual machines and you have a large need for storage and recovery needs. So unlike the 9000 series where you had backup and separate backup and disaster recovery lines within it, these are all focused around disaster recovery. So even the smallest environment here, you can look at in terms of a single petabyte to over 3 petabytes worth of effective capacity, 2 terabytes of RAM. It's all solid state NVMe drives. So these things are built for performance. And we have organizations in the financial industry and other areas to make sure that, you know, this is focused on those kind of environments that can't go down, can have environments that are offline. And so this is a great way to utilize an appliance to help with continued disaster recovery strategy. And just like what we mentioned with the 9000 series, the inclusion of Sophos, the inclusion of the latest version of UDP. So really a complete proactive ransomware defense, orchestrated recovery. And then if you include OneSafe as part of this, you have that immutability as well. So it creates an incredibly robust data protection option from one vendor. So it makes it very easy from a support standpoint, from ease of doing business with. And so we're really excited for the combination of these offerings. A couple more solutions, and then we'll turn it over to any Q&A that we have in terms of any questions that anyone may have. And this is really around our continuous availability product. And so one of the things that we have been focused on is this idea around continuous data protection. Typically, traditional backup, there's a recovery time involved with that backup process. And with continuous availability, we have a number of customers that utilize this to handle real-time replication and automatic failover. So this is for those really critical systems that absolutely can't go down. And so this can include things like transportation systems, financial sites, manufacturing sites, making sure production lines stay operational. We've got businesses in all sectors that utilize this, from small government to tech companies to airports. And I think that's reflected by a list here of some of the companies. I realize these are larger organizations that utilize it, but we also have mid-sized organizations that use it as well. But we tend to see more enterprise level use for continuous availability. And the last item I just wanted to cover here was just around email archiving. From a business standpoint, to meet regulatory and compliance requirements, it's important to make sure you have a strategy in place to preserve emails and show policies and plans in place to make sure that you're adhering to the protection of that based on a specific retention period. And so we do have an on-premises based email archiving option as well as a cloud-based email archiving option. So these are obviously more to address regulatory compliance, but it's still part of a data protection strategy. It may not be something that's out of your core database or your core CRM or something, but in terms of archival of email for legal holds and other regulatory or compliance needs, this can be a great solution as well. Again, from one vendor. So you can see everything that we've tried to cover today. We certainly could spend even more time talking through the additional items, but we want to be respectful of people's time and open it up to any questions. But as you could see from what Hugo stepped through and what I was able to step through, just really an exciting portfolio that is really addressing so many particular items in the data protection space. And so we're really excited to be the new leader in business continuity. We've had focused solutions, and now with this merger with StorageCraft, we continue to expand on that portfolio. And it's just an exciting time to help our customers, to help our partners, and to help those that will be new to the Arcserve family. So we're excited to work with new customers, and we're excited to continue to expand our relationships with our existing customers and partners. So with that, we can certainly take any questions that anyone may have. We can look through the the GoToMeeting for any possible questions here. I see we do have one here. If you want to take that one, Hugo.
Yes, Matt, I'm happy to do that. One question that was posted here was had to do with, what about Shadow Protect SPX in particular? yeah, I'd like to answer that question. Shadow Protect,
Sure.
for those who have been following StorageCraft for years, that is the flagship product from StorageCraft, and has particularly been well received and is in great use among in the MSP business. We do have some end user customers tend to be on the lower end of the SMB, but it is a product that is very prevalent in the MSP. This particular session has been very focused on the end user, on organizations that have their own IT department, and so we didn't mention a whole lot about Shadow Protect, but it is a core product in our MSP approach, and it does play a role here in the end user. Like I said, in the lower end, we have a very rich roadmap for Shadow Protect SPX. I mentioned that we just had version 7 shipped back in the very end of November. Since then, we have had 2 small upgrades to that, 7.02 and 7.04. We're planning 7.1 release coming out the very end of Q2 summer timeframe, and we will continue to invest in there. We are interested in providing even that unified management experience that we talked about for all the rest of the portfolio to be able to cover Shadow Protect in some future time. So a core and important component of our broad product portfolio for sure.
Let's see. Here's one question. What certifications are needed as an MSP to sell your services? So I'll cover it just briefly from an Arcserve side, and then if you want to cover it, you go from a StorageCraft MSP solution standpoint. So from a pre-merger standpoint, the primary product within the Arcserve portfolio that was focused at MSPs was Cloud Direct. So one of the capabilities within Cloud Direct is its multi-tenancy, and we do have MSPs that utilize that. We have a number of end users that use it as well, and not working with an MSP. So that's an important point of distinction there in terms of Cloud Direct. In terms of UDP is not multi-tenant, so it hasn't traditionally had a focus around MSPs. We have a few MSPs that utilize it, but from a multi-tenant standpoint, Cloud Direct was the solution that within the pre-merger portfolio was focused at that space. Now, as Hugo mentioned, they've been focused in that space for quite some time. So maybe you could shed some light on, what certifications are needed to sell your services as an MSP.
Yeah, for sure, Matt. There's various levels, right, of what a partner can be as part of an MSP go-to-market model is concerned. At the very minimum, just entering into an MSP agreement with StorageCraft allows you to sell the MSP, any of the products targeted at MSP, monthly bill, multi-tenant, etc. And then there's a number of requirements that allow you to have some advantages to that pricing and other parts of that program, right? And they're related to consumption. They're related to how many individuals in your staff you have trained or certified and on the product lines and things of that sort. We're certainly to get that maybe as a follow-up to this, maybe send out a link that includes information on how to attain some of those certifications and the benefits that come with that. Right? But I guess the entry level is quite low. Just being able to sign up to be an MSP partner is the minimum requirement for that. We'll provide some details as part of the follow-up to this session.
Great, thanks, Hugo. I don't see any additional questions. I know Megan has a few closing comments, and we can end the webinar a few minutes early, and people can get a few extra minutes back in their afternoon or evening or morning, depending on where you're logged in from. I just want to say thank you so much for joining. Obviously, it's a lot to cover within 55 minutes or so. We appreciate everyone that was able to attend, and I'll turn it over to Megan to close things out.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Matt and Hugo. This was very informative. We appreciate all the information you've provided on the Arcserve and StorageCraft product portfolio. If you would like additional information, we invite you to sign up for a demo or a free trial at the links listed here. We appreciate you taking time to join us today. Thank you so much and have a wonderful day.